We gonna let Sparkle to do the honors today. So Sizzle,
We're going to let Sizzle keep vacation.
that's right.
Yeah.
Sparkle, who do we have today? Who do we have today?
We have Global Philadelphia Executive Director Zabeth Teelucksing. She's one of the ones that are rare professionals who passionately lives the message she supports through her work. Zabeth is passionate about raising Philadelphia's global profile, a seasoned award-winning international executive. Since 2011, Zabeth has been the executive director for the nonprofit Global Philadelphia Association, GPA, and under her leadership in November 2015, GPA partnered with the City of Philadelphia for the membership in the Organization of World Heritage Cities, OWHC, making Philadelphia the very first World Heritage City in the U.S. with more than 25 years of international business. Zabeth has spent her global career educating organizations and communities on the infinite rewards of thinking globally. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Fantastic, fantastic. So, I want to talk a little bit about, let's start from the beginning, because you reached out to us on our social media.
That's correct.
Yeah. And so this is real time. So I would like just to dive into that. What I guess encourage you, or what stood out about We Talk Weekly, especially as it relates to our, our social media, that made you want to like reach out on that platform?
So it was Instagram, which I love. And I saw that you were positioning yourselves in a very strong way.
Right.
You clearly appeal to Philadelphia audiences.
Absolutely.
I would like to get the message out to Philadelphia audiences.
Okay.
And I just thought, I got to meet these people. Let me see if they'll get in touch.
Absolutely.
And I just direct message you, and here we are today.
And here we are today. You
Awesome.
see how that happens? And so for all those who's listening and watching, if you have a story, if you have something that you need a platform and you feel like you want to get to the people, that's what we do. If we hear your story and you feel like, we have a platform that we want to give to you, just reach out to us and we'll make that happen. We the real deal. And so let's jump right into you. I mean, international. You're all over, right?
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about your travels and what got you to start traveling so much. And then let's talk about the organization.
So step back and imagine that you're not traveling. You're actually being born overseas, and that's not traveling for you. That's reality, right? That's your reality. So I tell people sometimes that I'm an African because I'm born in Africa, North Africa, Tunisia, and I lived there till I was 9. And I tell my friends about my classroom, which was filled with Tunisian kids, French kids, American kids, Iranian kids. That country had just gotten independence from France, and it was full of international people helping it to develop. And so that's how I was raised. That's how I look at the world. And that upbringing, I was 9 when I left that country, was very formative in terms of who I am today.
Interesting. You have something you want to say, Sparkle?
No, I was fixing the mic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the organization, though, and how did that start, and why are you so empowered to reach out, and especially as it relates to Philadelphia and getting that word out there about that organization?
Yeah. So let's step back a minute again about the international piece.
Sure.
When you come from somewhere else, you look at things differently, right?
Right.
So I've come from somewhere else to Philadelphia.
Okay.
And I arrived here almost 10 years ago now, and there's a nonprofit that's a startup, year-old, Global Philadelphia, looking to position our city internationally. Who would have thought the gods would have lined up, right? I'm like, geez, that sounds interesting to me. And I get connected with the leadership.
Hold on. So real quick, you said, so Global Philadelphia is looking to build... What's the mission of Global
Positioning Philadelphia internationally
Okay.
to its citizens, but also overseas. So
I
it's
see.
twofold, right?
Okay.
Wow.
So telling the citizenry, hey guys, your city is pretty global. It's time to put that thinking hat on and start thinking about my city that way. Because in so doing, I can attract more jobs. I can position my city in a much more meaningful fashion. I can get my kids to think that they're little citizens of the world, which is important to their future, etc., etc. That's what we do each and every day.
Interesting.
And Global Philadelphia is originally a membership organization. We have over 200 members. They're all in the global space. They're universities, they're corporations, they're museums, they're Independence Hall right around the corner, for example. They're all these things, but they've all got an international purview. What Global Philadelphia does is bring it all together, make it one, make it much stronger, and say, hey, Philly, here's your global city.
Interesting.
Wow.
So for someone who's would come, I guess, from, do you have certain sectors that come to you as it relate to membership, certain communities? Like, who comes to you for membership to be a part?
Yeah, it varies. First of all, it could be a small nonprofit that's looking to come out from under.
Okay.
They got a great message, a great product, but they want to reach more people, more audiences. Well, through Global Philadelphia, we're very active on social media, our networks, etc. You can get a much better positioning. You might also be a business that's looking to kind of, I want to feel a little more international.
Right.
Join Global Philadelphia. You've done that in one stroke, because we immediately help to position you internationally, connect you with other international entities. And then if you're a big corporation, and we're grateful that we have quite a few of those supporting us, that's what helps us do the work, you might not really need Global Philadelphia at all. You're already international. But you realize that small nonprofit is making a difference in Philadelphia, and that's why I want to support them.
Wow.
So
Interesting.
those are some of the reasons.
So what do you do specifically for Global Philadelphia?
So as executive director,
Okay.
I run the organization.
Okay.
I hire people. I make sure that all our work is happening in sync and being evolved through the staff. I help with the social media and marketing. That happens to be my background. I'm really in international marketing originally. But we also, print brochures, hire those people, of course, represent the organization in media, write articles, as well as interviews, radio interviews, television. And I also get to travel internationally, because we haven't spoken too much yet about Philadelphia being a World Heritage City. But what that means is it's an international city that has an enormous amount of value in its heritage and culture. And through that, I represent the city and travel to other conferences that are to do with that. And that happens once or twice a year. Most of my work is in Philly, but sometimes I do travel.
And that's interesting, because now I think global business, international business, and I also think of image and how Philadelphia looks to the international space, right? And for someone who, because it's interesting that you're an executive director and you're in the trenches, because you're actually doing some social media. You're getting your hands dirty, so to speak, right? Pun intended too. She's really in the trenches, right? She's doing this thing, which is great to see that you really doing, what's needed, right? But internationally, how does Philadelphia look to that space?
Well, I mean, if you talk to our tourism marketing organizations, they do a fantastic job positioning Philadelphia globally, notably the CVB, the Convention Visitors Bureau. But you do often hear that people, they didn't know about Philly till they came here, maybe for a graduation or an interview or an event, and then they're like, geez, this place is amazing. But before that, they didn't know. And it's not really Philly's fault. I think it's a lot because New York's up there, DC's down there, you've got Miami, Vegas, those are real bling bling kind of places, right? Which everyone's attracted to. And Philly is very nice, very comfortable, full of heritage and stories, but it's not the one that kind of necessarily pops out when you're looking from the other side of the Atlantic to where you're going to come to visit in Philadelphia, coming from Europe, for example. And that's something that all of us collectively are working on changing, because
So what pops
people love
out
it
then?
here.
So what pops out when you say Philadelphia in that space? What pops out about Philadelphia? Is it something specific? Like, say, for example, you're in New York and someone says anything about Philly, the first thing they think of is the Philly cheesesteak, right? Or, I don't know, water rice or pretzels or something like that. But internationally, I guess you're saying that some people don't even know about Philadelphia. But for those who may have a clue, what do they see?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, Independence Hall.
Okay, of
and
course.
Constitution, all of that good stuff, of
Right,
course,
right.
very, very important. And then we also hear different countries have different interests. So, for example, an Italian tourist, I'm told, is very interested in the Barnes collection. They know about that and they want to know, etc. Another tourist might be coming because they've heard that we've got a really award-winning food scene, right?
We do, yeah.
And that's kind of like, oh, I want to go and try that. Another tourist might be really interested in a tax-free shopping because if you come for the Euros to America, we have much better shopping and better deals, right? And they heard that our city has tax-free shopping, and why not? So really, it depends on who your audience is, right? And then, of course, universities, that's a huge attraction because we are very well known for our incredible education. And then there's another component. You see, I study this a lot.
I see.
The medical aspect. So you have people coming
Penn Medicine,
from Penn Medicine, CHOP,
Drexel,
Jefferson, Temple, of course. You have people coming from overseas paying top dollar to get medical procedures done because CHOP is an expert if their kid is sick. Jefferson is an expert in all sorts of important areas. Penn has the cancer center and many other things, Temple, etc., etc. And that's another reason why people come to Philadelphia. And they might spend actually up to 6 months here because, you know, when you're sick, it doesn't just get fixed overnight, right? You'll come and stay. So there are lots of different reasons. There's not one reason. It kind of depends where you're coming from. And I'm sure I haven't listed them all.
Right, interesting. So I'm sure that you consult with a lot of people in Philadelphia when they're trying to get into the international space, right? And so, say for example, which is real time, you have a station like us, We Talk Weekly, a network like us, and we're coming to you and we're saying that we would love to be in that international space. What would you tell us? Because I know you consult a lot.
So, you know, full disclosure, I don't know everything.
Right, no, I understand.
But what I do know is who to position you with.
Okay.
So I'd say, you know, you might want to talk to the World Trade Center of Greater Philadelphia, very connected in the business networks.
Right.
You might want to talk to the folks from Economic Development at the state of PA that are active in this area, because we actually have trade reps overseas that represent us. So, for example, there's a woman in India that represents Pennsylvania, and if you want to get into an Indian radio show market, you might want to talk to her.
Wow.
And there are other channels like that. So it's going to involve a little digging, getting in front of the right people. But certainly what you're saying is very valid. You might even talk to Comcast because, as you know, Comcast has just purchased Sky Networks. They're getting more global, right? You know, what you got to do is kind of put your thinking cap on and see what's going on out there, as well as to talk to some of these experts.
And the irony is that you reached out to us to kind of get this word out, right? Which is interesting. And so what's your goal? What do you believe your goal is, or what do you think We Talk Weekly can, using our platform, help as it relates to global Philadelphia?
Well, I particularly wanted to share an event that I have coming up, which is honoring none other than Vernon Odom, who for years was on 6ABC, on your TV every night with the news. He's a very special guy. Through this work, I've gotten to know him personally, and he really is a lovely man, much revered in the city. We have a celebration that celebrates World Heritage every year. It happens in early September, and this year we're honoring Vernon Odom. And we'll be doing that on September 5th. It'll be a very nice event, and I wanted more folks in the Philadelphia community to know about that. And that's one of the reasons why I asked if I could join you this evening.
Absolutely, absolutely. What inspires you about the gentleman?
He's very knowledgeable, he's very authentic, and his voice is gorgeous. And you can tell that he's someone very diligently reporting what he does. A lot of people say you can trust Vernon.
Yeah. One of the people I idolized growing up in journalism was Vernon Odom. I remember watching him on television.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I even heard people say that when the Pope was in Philly and they were about to start reeling on the Parkway, everyone said, no, Vernon's not here yet. We can't start. When he showed up, they started.
Awesome.
On the journalism side. And I'm like, well.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, that's quite a story, right?
Yeah. You know, it's so many questions that go through my head, especially internationally, because I like to see how Philadelphia is looked at, right? How the States is looked internationally. And so we have something, and I'll get back to your event because I think that's a very important event, and I would also like you to kind of talk to the camera as you're talking to Mr. Odom itself, and we'll get to that. But let's talk a little bit about our president and how you believe, it's heavy. What do you think internationally they look at our presidency or politics in America, what do they see?
You know, I don't want to get into too much
and
details
we don't
on
have
that
to.
for obvious reasons.
Yeah, of course.
But what I will say is that America has a certain reputation,
Yeah.
and globally it was very well thought of in terms of covering all aspects and really being very multidisciplinary and fair as much as possible, and kind of looking at different societies. And I think that currently that image is slightly tainted. The good news is, in Philadelphia, that's not the case. We're wide open. We're a welcoming city. This whole heritage program is about exactly that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we like to focus on. And with all things, I think over time things get redressed, right? You get an extreme here and an extreme there, and then they come back into balance.
There you go. The
and
pendulum.
that's my belief.
Absolutely, pendulum. Very well responded. Let's talk the heritage program. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, being a World Heritage City, we didn't want this accolade just to sit for the privileged in Center City. We want to make sure that everybody knows about this. So we have a very robust education program where we educate little kids with a coloring book about their heritage in the city. And that's a very popular program that's we're currently evolving and making bigger. Thus far, we've only been able to affect a few schools. But with the funding and with our work and opportunities, that is growing. We also have a website with all the education resources on it. It's called learnphillyheritage.org. And that was built expressly.
Learnphillyheritage.org?
Yes.
Okay, great.
That was specifically done because we talked to the teachers and they said, look, we don't have the time to go scrambling around for heritage material. It's got to be in one place and then we can use it. So that's what we did. And that's a really great resource. We also have, totally for free on our website, a film about Philly, the World Heritage City. It's only 28 minutes long. It's actually in 12 languages. And it gives you some really good ideas as to why Philly qualified as a World Heritage City. And it's also a learning tool. So that's on the education side. Then we're involved in what we call extending Philadelphia's reach. And that's the global part where we do attend these conferences and position Philadelphia as a city internationally. We're also raising awareness within the city itself. We have signage in a suburban station, for example. We have actually a Global Philly Expo that's coming up, 45 days of international events, which we will be kind of pushing out there for people to really see and look and say, geez, I never knew all this was going on in my city that's international. And then we also, of course, want to bring out heritage and culture. And that's another area where we're very active. And little by little, we're entering into different communities. So we have some programs in Brewery Town, in Parkside, in Mount Airy, Germantown. Little by little, we're evolving that so that more people can talk about their heritage and what matters to them in Philadelphia. And we're collecting stories about that to be able to put them and promote them and really tell genuine, authentic stories of Philadelphia to people.
It almost sounds like, although you're targeting international for people to look at Philadelphia, but it's a lot of natives here that don't even understand or know what they have here as a Philadelphian.
That's right. What we like to say is World Heritage City, City of the World's Heritages. And that's kind of where we're at in terms of the two positionings and dichotomy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Interesting. That's amazing. I mean, you have me like, wow, because, sometimes we don't look on the peripheral, right? We're right here. We're in our own little, like, circles, right? We're in our little bubbles. And once you start to, like, stretch out and pop those little bubbles, you're like, wow, I didn't know. This happens. This is what's going on. And it's inspiring. It's inspiring. Yeah. So you make sure you keep, We Talk Weekly, in kind of like thoughts as you do certain things as it relates to the international space and needing kind of like media and platforms so we can kind of be involved in it and push some things out. We'd love to be involved in it.
Great.
That's amazing.
Appreciate
That's amazing.
that.
So like I said, or as I stated, I want you to kind of look in the camera and talk about Mr. Odom. And for people who would like to know more and where to go and what to see, tell them right here. Just talk to our people.
Sure. So on September 5th at 6 p.m. in the Crystal Tea Room, we're honoring Vernon Odom, veteran broadcaster and news journalist. and he will be addressing the audience that evening, and he'll actually be having a conversation with Jim Gardner as well, talking.
Another veteran. Yeah.
The two of them talking about their work, and I believe they have a very long-standing relationship. And I think it's going to be, or I know it's going to be a really special night, and we're really looking forward to giving Vernon some love, if you will.
There you go.
Awesome.
I love that. Wow. Is there anything else you would like to share? You got everything out in that nice little bit of time. You're very direct, succinct, and you knew what you wanted to say. So this is something that, before I let you, how can everybody get in contact with you and the program, all of that information? How can they get in contact with you?
Sure. So the website is globalphiladelphia.org. And if you want to write to us or say anything about what we're discussing or ask questions, simply write an email to info@globalphiladelphia.org and you'll get an answer right back.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
If you have a young person that's very interested in learning more about their heritage, how would you, or where would you direct them?
Well, it depends what they want to know. Is it like historical background?
Historical background, especially as it relates to like Philadelphia. What would you tell them? How, they're from Philadelphia. They really don't know too much about themselves in Philadelphia, to really dig in and get into the trenches, so to speak. What would you tell them?
I'm going to tell you something that's a little bit obvious, but it's a bit outdated right now, and that is the library. Right?
How about that? Yeah.
The library.
Yeah.
2, there's the original library is called the Library Company, and that has a really great collection, especially
I didn't know about that.
of African American literature and stories that could be useful. And then there's the really quite well-known Pennsylvania Historic Society, where you can research your roots. So those are 3 areas that would be a good place to start.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel a little shocked that I don't know a lot of the places, because I pride myself on being such the Philadelphian, right? But it's a lot of places that I'm still learning that Philadelphia has that I knew nothing about.
Pennsylvania Hospital, actually the first hospital, they do tours in there of the hospital where I think the library and everything is. And so what you were saying is it's a lot of heritage here that we as natives have never even, touched the surface.
I'm going to say 2 things to that. One is you can teach me a whole lot of things that I probably don't know, I'm sure. But 2 is that's one of the real fun things about my job. Today I was for the first time at the School of Dentistry at Temple.
Right.
There's a beautiful museum there all about dentistry, which I had no idea about. And that happens to me at least once a month, maybe 3 with my job, because there are so many hidden gems in this city.
Right. Fantastic.
We love being Philadelphians.
I know that's right. I love Philadelphia.
I love Philly.
It's great to be in Philadelphia. And, we have our little, issues like every other place, but Philadelphia is the place to be.
Yes, definitely.
Because that's where We Talk Weekly is.
That's
You gotta
right.
love it. Strictly for Philadelphia. Yeah, how did you get to Philadelphia from Africa? Yeah.
Well, so step back a minute.
Okay.
I ended up working in France after college, and then a friend of mine was running an international conference company in Boston, and she said, I would love you to come and work over here. So I crossed the Atlantic, never went back, and eventually my husband, whom I met in Boston, and I ended up in Boca Raton, Florida, of all places.
Okay.
We were 15 years there. I raised my daughter there, and suddenly it was time to find a new job. And we had been on holiday in Philadelphia, and we liked it. And I said, you could do worse than get a job in Philly. And he did.
Wow.
Shout out to the hubby, right? No doubt.
And we were very happy.
There you go.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Great story. That's a great story. Is there anything else you would like to say to all our listeners and viewers?
Well, I'd like to say to everyone that's listening, be proud of Philadelphia and show it off for the really amazing city that it is, because we got to live that. We got to breathe it, and we got to really put that message out there.
Right.
Awesome.
And say, watch We Talk Weekly.
Of course, watch We Talk Weekly. Listen to We Talk Weekly. And
go.
follow them on social media.
I
That's
love
right.
that. What a drop. Shout out to Global Philadelphia. You didn't bring us no pins, no buttons. You gotta send us some. I love it. I love it. So unfortunately, we gotta go, ladies and gentlemen. What a interesting and dynamic interview. Thanks for coming to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. That was amazing. And unfortunately, we gotta go, ladies and gentlemen. Check this out. And don't go anywhere, cuz check this out. We Talk Weekly. Are y'all ready? Hold your breath. We Talk Weekly podcast is on iHeartRadio, our podcast, Spotify, and Spreaker. Make sure you follow us on our podcast and binge listen to our shows. Like and follow us on our We Talk Weekly Facebook page and download the little TuneIn app. Look for WPBM on P106.5 FM. Tune in every Tuesday at 7 p.m. for We Talk Weekly's After the Talk. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at We Talk Weekly, at Charles Gregory, at Lauren_Sizzle, at Sparkle Prices One. Subscribe to our We Talk Weekly YouTube channel. And if you're in Philly, catch us every Monday night, 9:30, Comcast 66, Verizon Files 29 and 30. We Talk Weekly is now higher than 7. That's right. We syndicated, and you can find us on higherthan7.com. Subscribe, and look for who?
We Talk Weekly.
Check this out. Another deep breath. We Talk Weekly is now syndicated. You can find us in Atlanta, Birmingham, Chicago, Delaware, Houston, Jacksonville, Los Angeles, Miami, Newark, New Jersey, New York City, Philadelphia, and all across the nation. Who do you look for?
We Talk Weekly.
We in Africa now too. Shout out to
Yes.
Shout out to Yannick. Yannick Kabit. I forgot exactly where he's from, but he's one of our listeners who listen all the way from Africa. And he will be touching base with him. I'm gonna reach out and thank you for coming to our show. We really appreciate you. But unfortunately, we gotta go, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy Charles Gregory with the beautiful
Classy Lady Sparkle.
and Global Philadelphia, the beautiful
Zabeth.
And don't go anywhere. We love you, but unfortunately, we gotta go. And always remember, you are the kings and queens. But we gotta get out here like last year. Hello.
Peace, y'all.
What's up, you guys? It's your girl Classy Lady Sparkle with We Talk Weekly. Have you subscribed